Welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 969-KTRS.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, sunny, quickly warming second day of the PGA Champions Tour event at Norwood Hills, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my very favorite. Yeah, I've been calling you my favorite for a long time, haven't I?
Well, not that long. I'm not that old.
I called you that when you were little.
Again.
We're lucky your sister doesn't listen. My very favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Erin, who also is a fee-based financial planner and a good laugher.
Well, you know, you got the jokes this morning. You're all hyped up.
Thank you, babe.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Well, it is another beautiful day in the neighborhood. You ready for action, babe?
Let's do it.
8 o'clock. That's right. It's not deja vu. It's only 8 o'clock. Yeah, this week and next week we'll be on at 8 o'clock, and then we'll go back to our normal 10 o'clock time, which is wonderful. But what's even more wonderful is hopefully we've got some new listeners.
That's right.
We want to remind everyone that our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the increasingly popular Aaron-controlled text line. Before we do get into our programming this morning, we do remind everybody that we do offer a free monthly newsletter as a way of keeping in touch with us during the week.
That's right. We call it the Coach's Corner. You can access it by going to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the pop-up box that appears in the lower left-hand side of the screen, or scroll to the middle of the page and click Sign Up. And we will send our newsletter to you every single month by email.
That's right, and Erin and her staff do keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience. We also have another very important section there, too.
That's right, the Contact Us section.
Which people love to do to ask us questions.
Request coaching sessions.
That's our favorite one.
That's right.
That's
so
right.
in the upper right-hand corner, just click Contact Us, and we will respond to that email hopefully within 24 hours.
Where we have, especially if you're coming for a coaching session, where we have beautiful, large, reserved, private parking spaces, best coffee in town. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we
right?
would.
Which is great. So, and we do usually have 4 different topics in our newsletter each month. Are we going to talk about those, or are we going to pass on that?
Well, you know, we have, let's see here. We absolutely can discuss all of the topics in the newsletter.
Well, I'll just give them a highlight, babe.
All right. The first is an infographic of 401k plan participation. The second is company stock and your retirement strategy.
Very important one, especially for folks here in the city that might be working for Seattle-based companies.
That's right. Grandparents 529 plans get a boost under new FAFSA rules.
Fabulous.
And finally, a map for your family.
Yes. And again, we do call it the Coach's Corner. It's free. Easy to email to you every single month. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Great. So, and while we're waiting for your calls at 314-931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the text line, let's get into our topic number one. How to be a rock star in retirement. You know, it's so fun how folks are coming in to visit with us for coaching sessions and asking, my rock star, my rock star. We love when they're rock stars. We find very few that aren't.
Yes, we do.
And I know last week we talked about the magic formula of how to figure out if you are a rock star. So, honey, how do we really define rock stars?
The way that we define a rock star are individuals who have more than sufficient income to meet their needs in retirement, or they have more than sufficient capital to meet those income needs.
There you go. So let's talk about our very favorite friends, Joe and Sandy. Joe got divorced. He got rid of Sally.
Married Sandy.
Picked up Sandy. He was an S person. And, you know, both of them happen to be normal retirement age, which in their case is age 66. And inside of their retirement accounts, we call those non-vault assets.
Right.
They have about $840,000.
And basically what we would determined is that Joe and Sandy need about $6,500 net every month in order to make their lifestyles work.
Yes, and what we naturally do is we increase that by 20%. Because they got to pay federal and state taxes. They don't live in Illinois, so they have to pay.
That's right. So they're going to need about $8,000 a month gross.
What's fortunate is Joe happens to have a pension of about $2,400, and his Social Security and Sandy's together are really worth about $3,800 per month. So at the end of the day, they're short
about $1,600 a month. I'm sorry, they're short about $1,800 a month.
Which by 12 months is about $21,600 per year. So then we go into our magical calculation.
It's very, very complicated.
It's magic.
It's magical. We're going to take that $21,000 and divide it by 4%.
And when we do that, that comes out to $540,000.
So that essentially tells us that we would need at least $540,000 to draw 4%, which is about $21,000.
We call that the milk money. And in their particular case, because they started with $840,000 retirement assets, the actual draw, think about it, is about 0.25%, whereas we were hoping that they wouldn't go over 4%.
So that means they're well inside the safety zone.
Woohoo! Rock stars. But, honey, before we go any further, we got Mick on line 2. Mick, good morning. Welcome to the show. Can't hear you, Mick.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, thank you. So my wife is a member of the PEERS system.
Yes.
And apparently that is completely different than every other type of retirement deal there is.
Yes.
So she's 50. She can retire in 7 years with full benefit. And we'll be offered several options when it comes to that. There's a small lump sum, a medium lump sum, and then quite a large lump sum.
Yes.
And when is it beneficial to take the large lump sum versus a medium? And from what I understand, her benefits are non-transferable. Once she's gone, it's gone.
Yes.
So we're thinking, is it best to take the lump sum and then she can distribute that upon her passing as she wishes?
Well, let's qualify that for a moment.
Well, first, the reason that PEERS does provide an extra benefit to its members that other pension plans don't, which is that they'll allow for a partial pension and partial lump sum in varying degrees, which the smaller the lump sum, the larger the monthly payout would be. And they give you a few options. The pension itself is not transferable. However, your wife can elect joint and survivor in different percentages, meaning it would be transferable to you if she happened to predecease you. Just like any other pension would if you elect a survivor option. However, you are correct that it wouldn't pass on any further than yourself. So I think when we're talking about deciding when it makes sense to take the lump sum, how much of a lump sum you would take, first we have to figure out what you and your wife's income goals are and how we can meet them, either with using part of a smaller or larger amount of your pension versus the lump sum.
The other thing that we do have to remember is that because your wife's Social Security benefit is basically integrated into that peer's benefit,
right?
That you're not going to be able to, you probably won't, but you're not going to access her benefit.
Right.
Just like she won't be able to access your benefit. It'll be significantly cut down, right? Because
that's right. So the windfall applies if the caller were to predecease his wife, then unfortunately she would not be eligible to take over his Social Security benefit in full like most spouses are. The peers enrollees still have what's called a windfall exclusion, even on a survivor benefit.
Yeah, I think, Mick, but to answer your question as specifically as we can without knowing you, and I think Aaron really hit the heart of the matter. When we're planning for retirement for folks, and as well as if you're, if you're using an advisor, and I'm sure he or she's helping you, and if they're not, and you're a do-it-yourselfer, that's cool too. The point here is that with the pension benefit you're going to be receiving at the time for retirement, you've got an option with this lump sum benefit to really determine the size of that pension benefit. It certainly makes sense for you, we think for most folks. Why overfund your pension benefit? If you can get a lump sum that basically for the excess amount that you need over the income benefit, that's the amount that you should take. So for some folks, they take the big benefit. Some folks take the middle benefit. Some folks take the smallest benefit.
Right.
So again, you can personalize this. Most folks that are covered under corporate sponsored retirement plans, they don't have that benefit because once they start that pension, it's there for them. And then if they did choose a survivor option for their spouse's life. So
it is pretty cool that you are able to have a little bit more flexibility. And really, we chatted a lot about this last week on the show, how to determine what your needs are in retirement. So what we would suggest is, figure out what your monthly spending is, subtract your Social Security from it because that will be coming in, and then determine what that deficit is and match up the best pension benefit that meets enough of that you feel comfortable, that you have a strong base of fixed income, or covers it over completely. We've definitely worked with individuals from the peers pension system where they've elected the smallest pension benefit because their income deficit was relatively small once we considered their spouse's Social Security, leaving a much larger lump sum available to them. That might not necessarily be the case in your situation. So it's nice to have more than one choice.
Yeah, honey, and just sort of in this, and I know that Mick was probably listening, so he didn't hear the example, but the one that we just did with Joe and Sally was very similar. What happened was that they had this $1,800 a month income need, but what happened was that they had a lot of capital. So we really dedicated most of that capital to the income need, and they went from there. So, Mick, we hope that helps, and thanks so much for calling today, which is great.
Thank you.
And you have a great day.
You do the same.
So, again, doing this, figuring out if you're a rock star, making these decisions is important. And unfortunately, it can't really be done by itself.
Not in a vacuum, unfortunately.
No, you can't, because you have other considerations. Like in Mick's case, we know that, and anybody that actually has a pension that's available either for them or their spouse, that money, once both of them have passed away, the income flow stops. Those assets are not being able to be passed on to the next generation.
Right, just like Social Security,
Right.
where you have access to your benefit. If you or your spouse passes away, they have access to the larger benefit. But then once you're both gone, unfortunately, Social Security is gone too, and that's the same as if you are if you are a pension participant and you elect the monthly benefit. Well, if you've elected the monthly benefit, if you've left anything to your spouse, they'll have access to it. But once you both pass away, if you have children or charities that you wanted to leave funds to, those funds wouldn't be available to be left to them.
Yes, and in Mick's particular case, because the peers benefit really also includes Social Security, that creates limitations on the ability for his spouse to access his benefit. So,
Right.
and also timing. So let's take a look at Joe and Sandy Part 2.
Okay.
Which is, we said that at the time they were normal retirement age, which was 66 for them.
Right.
But today, they're actually age 62.
So they have 4 years until they get there.
So the question naturally was, and we'd like to address, is could we retire today? And if we did retire, it doesn't make sense for us to actually put off taking our Social Security benefits until 66 or later.
Right. So we knew that if Joe and Sandy were going to wait for their Social Security benefit, that would be $3,800 a month.
That we'd also have to fund.
Exactly, in addition to what we were already funding. So that's over 12 months, over a 4-year period, which is the amount of time we'd have to wait, is about $182,000 of capital.
Yeah, which is cool. So if you when we're looking at, and again, we always assume a zero return on assets. If we say, hey, they started at $840, we know that we're going to consume $182,000, which is the Social Security benefit that they were looking at, in addition to the money they needed.
Right.
They only needed $540. They had $658 left. Woohoo! Still rock stars.
That's right.
So again, that calculation was kind of easy. We didn't have the money. How much were we going to have to pull from our capital?
Right.
And then was that capital going to be large enough to basically satisfy what I like to call our milk money requirements, which in this case was. So it's all good.
So that really just tells them that they have as much flexibility as they'd like.
I was just thinking about Mick, our last caller. It's always great when you call because, that's the only thing I can retain is the people that just call.
Nice.
Mick was saying, hey, 7 years, she's going to be fully funded. Well, there are a lot of people that retire before they're fully funded in their peers benefit. Question becomes,
Yes.
do they go back and buy back years? Not buy back years and actually retire earlier.
Right.
So
buy up years to increase the size of their pension, too.
Yes. So the real question here is, does it make sense, especially shows it shouldn't cost you anything, to maybe visit with a financial professional? Say, hey, let me get a second opinion. Let me get a second take on this so I can make better choices. That's what it's all about, right?
Yes.
Making smart choices about your money. So in this case, we could say if Joe and Sally said, hey, could we quit today? It's like, yeah, if you feel like it. Or truthfully,
If you feel like it.
you could do it on your own time. And we also didn't include healthcare choices, right?
That is a good point. Because between 62 and 65, so for 3 years of that 4-year period, we have to consider additional healthcare expenses, be it COBRA for 18 months, or if we have to use individual health insurance, that's going to put an additional, at least most likely $1,000 a month of expense into Joe and Sandy's budget. But we know that those numbers will fall away at 65 because Medicare is going to come in and make things relatively inexpensive compared to this gap between 60 and 65.
Yeah, and who knows? It could be a situation here where maybe somebody has a retiree benefit plan that's even less expensive than COBRA, where they can actually bridge that gap of time and never actually have to even go into COBRA.
Right. Or even with retiree plans, even if they become relatively more expensive than what your original cash flow was incorporating, we can work that back in to say, all right, if we knew that Joe and Sandy were going to need $3,800 a month, maybe that's really $4,800 a month for the period in which they need to use the retiree coverage before they're eligible for Medicare. And that happens in a lot of cases. We like to work those numbers back in because individuals who have access to those excellent retiree plans usually had access to health insurance where they were paying very little to nothing at all for health insurance premiums because they were part of very large companies. So usually their premiums for, to cover themselves and their spouses could be under $100 a month. So that is something that we refactor into their budget. However, the nice thing is usually those retiree plans are very similar to the plans that they were using while working. So we know that if you were paying for copays and pharmaceuticals and things like that, you were paying for them with your normal cash flow. So that's really already incorporated into the $3,800 a month that you were spending, because most people don't have a separate bucket of, well, I take my $5 copay from this checking account to pay for my doctor's visits. That's not part of my monthly expenses. That's just usually like when you go out to lunch, it's just part of what you're spending on a regular basis. So we know that's already factored in.
Well, yeah, so let's kind of do the math on that, because I think that makes it even more interesting.
Okay.
So like we said in the last thing, so Joe and Sandy don't want to wait till normal retirement age. Mm-hmm. They're going to take it at 6. They take it early. Can we get out early? We also now have to factor in, like you said, honey, let's call it $1,500 a month times 12 months.
Okay.
18,000 times 4 years, which is 72,000, right?
Right.
So they start at $840. We subtract off $182,000, which is the funding amount that we have to do for their Social Security benefits.
Right.
We also subtract off $72,000 for their additional health care expenses.
And they're still left with $586,000.
And we know that they needed $540 for the milk money.
So they're still in an excellent spot.
Rockstarville.
And when individuals who are preparing for retirement talk about health expenses and retirement healthcare expenses, I think that this exercise is very helpful because it shows that, yes, even with an elevated premium amount for a certain amount of time, we're able to cover that for you, or you're really able to cover that additional expense. And then once we get to Medicare, you'll see that you're either, you'll have very low copays or very low out-of-pocket expense. Just depends upon which avenue you choose, but that should not be a large burden in your retirement.
And I think what's kind of fun here, and I hope folks get, is that life is an algebra problem. That's really what it is. We're just figuring out where are the cash flows, where are the inflows, what's the timing going to be on them. And we love to do that for them right in front of them on our beautiful 6x8 foot electronic whiteboard.
That's right.
This is your plan. We pour out your life onto the basically on the tablet, and woohoo.
Right.
And away we go. So let's just assume that you're a listener today.
Since you're listening.
You're listening today, which we appreciate, or you're a longtime listener, which we really appreciate. And you're thinking to yourself, maybe I want to go visit the coaches, or I want to go back and visit my own advisor, which is certainly something we would suggest that you do. What should I be asking my advisor? What are the questions that I should be putting in front of them so that they're in a position where they can help me create my path?
Well,
right?
The first, and I think one of the most important questions to ask is, describe your ideal client.
Oh, yeah. And that doesn't mean the rich ones.
But really what you're trying to get at is, do you work with people like me? Do you spend your time specializing in problems that I am going to encounter in retirement? So,
as a professional, maybe. Have you worked with folks that have peers, in Mick's case?
Right. Have you worked with the plans that I'm currently using as retirement vehicles? Have you worked with other people in my industry? Have you helped other people retire that have families, that have spouses, that have age difference, significant, whatever your specific niche is? Have the individual that you are interviewing, because that's really what this is. It's kind of an interview for both the advisor and the potential client. Are you good fits for one another? And this is a really good way to start the ball rolling, which is, who do you normally work with? What is your ideal client?
Yeah, and honey, as we've described before, we really think that advisors fall into two categories. Advisors that really help folks and specialize in the accumulation area. Mm-hmm. And there are then folks like us that are on the back end, which is the distribution area. Not only dealing with the income tax situation, creating the algebra problem for them, but also then further say, what happens when one of us or both of us are gone? The distribution of assets to their family members, charities, whoever it might be, in the most tax-effective manner.
Right. It takes a different skill set and a different focus to deal with individuals in retirement than dealing with individuals while they're working to accumulate their retirement funds.
Yeah. So if someone was asking us, how could you describe your ideal client? I think we've come up with 4 answers, right?
Yes.
4 ways to describe. Number 1, you have to be nice. What does nice mean? It's not just nice to us, but what we're talking about really is people that are happy with their lives. If you're happy with who you are and where you are, with your relationships, generally with children, grandchildren, spouses, etc., you can have a good disposition and go and transferring and
well, our goal is that we're going to be sitting across the table from you for at least the next 30 years. So we hope that we both have a nice time while we're spending this time together. We like to see our clients at least 2 times a year. Yeah,
and secondarily, and this is a tough one, is that we really like to work with folks that are ready
to accept professional advice.
Right. And implement it. Right?
Right, because really at the end of the day, we're the coaches. We're not on the field with you.
That's right. And so it's interesting because I think anyone can relate to this. There are times in your life where you need advice. You want advice. You're searching for advice. And sometimes you're not.
Sometimes you're not.
No, and sometimes you're not. And sometimes you want to keep your own counsel. We dig that. We respect that. It's like investing. We work with folks that are delegators. They want to delegate that investment responsibility. They pass a fee. It's a small one. It's 1% per year for everybody, no matter how many zeros they have. And we don't collaborate with them. They delegate this so they can keep us accountable for that. And they go on to have fun in their lives doing the things that they think are important. So being a delegator is important.
Yes.
If you're a do-it-yourselfer, guess what? Keep on doing it, baby.
Well, also, why pay someone for the work that you are doing?
And at the end of the day, we know that the people that are our ideal clients care more about someone or something more than their money. Those are typically not do-it-yourselfers, right?
Exactly.
Etc. So being nice, wanting to accept advice, delegating to have that advice, and then also caring more about something or someone other than their money or the things that we think they're important. The second thing is that I think you want to find out the licenses or the licensure that your advisors have, right?
Well, that's right. You want to find out how what tools your potential advisor has in their toolbox, essentially.
And what level of professional advice they can provide you.
Right. So how are they licensed with the SEC and FINRA? Do they have a securities license, meaning are they Series 6 licensed? Do they charge fees, meaning that they might be Series 63 licensed? So that way that they're providing advice for a fee versus a transactional relationship, which would be more of a broker.
And that comes, and the same way also works with their healthcare licensing, right?
That's right. Do they have life and health licensing? Can they offer you all of the options that will help you protect your assets? But then also, do they offer health insurance options in retirement, meaning are they fully licensed with CMS? Can they offer Medicare Advantage plans as well as supplements?
Which is really a separate licensing from...
Just life and health, yes.
Exactly.
Because you have state license. So the state controls insurance licensing. You're licensed through the state, and then we are licensed in many states to work with many clients as they retire and move to their new locations. But because Medicare is a federal program, you're federally licensed to work with Medicare products.
Yeah, and I guess question number 3, the big one, always asked.
The big one.
How do you get paid? And how much do you charge? And when do you charge? Well, the way we charge clients, and your advisor should tell you very simply, is we are fee-based advisors. We charge a fee.
That's right.
0.25% of the assets that we manage.
0.25% per quarter of the assets that we manage.
Otherwise, whoo-hoo.
Otherwise, everybody's got a big discount.
We'd have to really grow their money. And what happens in our accounts, as well as most investment advisory accounts, there's a money market that's embedded, and that's how the money gets debited.
But the nice thing is, because we charge fees, not only do do we disclose those to you before you become a client?
And you have to sign
and
off
you
on them.
sign an agreement on that. We're very transparent, so you're able to see those fees as they are deducted from your account on the very front page of your statement, which is nice.
And for us, it's all inclusive.
That's right. All of your coaching sessions.
All of our time that we're spending away from you.
All the time we're spending, all of our investment advice as well as financial advice and planning all is encompassed in that 1% fee.
Yeah, we don't charge for a plan. What happens is we feel that the 1% per year covers that very well.
Yes.
Also, communications. How can we be How should we be communicating with you? And for our clients, we offer 3 ways, right? Face-to-face.
That's right, face-to-face, over the phone. We've also started to incorporate with, after all of our social distancing, Zoom, which quite a few people have taken advantage of. It's nice to be able to either catch up with clients over Zoom if they happen to be in their retirement homes elsewhere, down at the lake or maybe in Florida, but also for prospective clients that maybe are still working. If you're interested in an after-work appointment, Zoom can be really great because you don't have to go another place after work. You just hop onto the computer.
Yes, and Zoom for us replaces Skype, which I did for 10 years before.
Yeah, really, even before the pandemic.
We were trendsetters.
Dad, I believe you were the first. You were handing out webcams to the clients so they would be able to communicate with us if they were out visiting the grandchildren. But also I think it was great because it was the first wave of grandparents maybe being able to get to communicate with those grandchildren that were further away. But now everything's embedded, so we don't have to hand out the webcams anymore.
Well, I mean, honey, it's so funny because technology moves so fast. We were giving out webcams because most computer monitors
hadn't added them in yet.
That's right.
And now they're all embedded, which is great. Means you don't have to give out the webcams, but it was really nice to be able to do that. But now technology's advanced to the point where, we could do it by the phone even, and we can share our screens, meaning you'll be able to get access to all the same information as if you were in the office with us.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because, when we started doing web-based communications, it was almost like a kung fu movie.
You mean because it was like slow motion?
It was slow motion. If you moved your head,
disjointed.
It got wavy, all kinds of stuff, and the communications weren't great. But again, we're always trying to figure out ways of how we can stay in touch with clients in a way that makes sense for them. And we know that with most folks, we really almost insist that we're seeing them at least twice a year.
Right, and that seeing is important because we need to be able to keep up with what's going on in your life so we can make sure that your portfolio continues to match your goals.
Yes.
And with Zoom, that's just made it a little bit easier to hunt some people down because a lot of times people are out enjoying their lives.
There you go. And I guess the last question is, and I guess this is really a complicated one. Well, it is.
Best one for last. What
is your investment strategy with this new administration?
It's a good question.
And maybe also, unless, if this is a new advisor, if it isn't your current advisor, you might ask, what was your investment strategy during the pandemic?
During the last financial crisis, we would call it. What was your plan?
And what did you do?
Right.
Did clients just hold the course, or did you make strategic changes, et cetera? I think that's important. And then how did your clients react to those changes?
Right.
Right.
And also that could be a very good barometer if you are potentially re-interviewing your current advisor. Think back to how they handled the pandemic and how you felt about that. If, they made moves that you felt comfortable with, or they made moves that you weren't comfortable with until they explained them to you. Like, I would think about the entire process of how they handled not only what they did, but the communication to you. That might tell you a lot about your current advisor that maybe you didn't know before the pandemic, because it wasn't, there's never smooth sailing in the market, but the first 4 years of the Trump administration were not nearly as rocky as the last year. Or the first 3 years weren't as rocky as the last year.
Yeah. And we also know that in the last 4 years, which includes the current Biden administration, we've really seen some very positive momentum in the markets. We're hitting new highs all the time over this time period, and I would be asking my current advisor, or you should be seeing this, is, what plans do you have in terms of taking advantage of momentum? If you perceive it really to be momentum, and really it's the other way too, which is if things start moving the other way and you perceive that this is actually a wave. What are your plans in terms of dealing with our portfolios? Now, what we do, and it's not that we recommend this to everybody, but all of our clients do it.
Well, this is our strategy.
Right. We rebalance every 6 months.
Right. This is one component of the strategy.
Right. Which is capturing gains, turning them into cash if they're needed, and using some of that money to fund their distributions for the year. Right. Which is great. Obviously, the other side of that is that by rebalancing, what we're doing is we're getting their portfolio back into the configuration
that meets their risk tolerance and also meets what our intended goals for their portfolio were. And I think that at the very least, that's part of a process that we use for every client that is currently in need of cash flow from us. So it would be important to chat with a potential advisor about how they handle cash flow needs. You've already had the conversation, you need some cash. Right. You have this lump sum that you're going to receive and potentially some other investments that you have. Maybe you've heard how they're going to invest that, but what are the actual mechanics behind turning your investment strategy into cash flow for me? And I think, having a handle on that makes you feel a lot more comfortable in retirement because it gives you a little security in knowing how the cash flow is going to arrive.
Yeah, and again, the process that we use also has another function because we know that stuff happens, whether it's planned or unplanned. And so what we're doing is we query our clients every 6 months for what we like to think of as maybe one time or even in some case ongoing extraordinary cash needs. One time maybe, hey, I'm redoing my kitchen, or I need to buy a car. I need to make sure the cash is available by X time, or I've got a wedding to plan for.
It's another reason that we like to see clients twice a year because that's another thing that we're checking on. Do you have any upcoming capital expenses we need to plan for? How is the monthly cash flow? Over the last year, we had the opportunity to chat with we chatted with all of our clients during the pandemic.
Yes.
And cash flow needs really changed significantly, but that doesn't necessarily mean the cash flow itself is going to change.
Well, the other thing last year was the tax law also changed very significantly, and I do want to remind our clients as well as our listeners, maybe even people that might be prospective clients, is that this Tuesday we're doing a Zoominar.
That's right.
What do they call this?
A webinar on Zoom. I like that, a Zoominar.
We're doing a Zoominar. We're going to be talking about ways and how to maximize passing money intergenerationally based on the new tax laws. It should be a fun discussion. They usually are. Very similar to our show. Aaron and I talk for a little while. We take questions. We take questions beforehand that we answer. And it's very easy. All you need to do is, if you're interested in signing up, getting an invite to the Zoominar, just go to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us section.
That's right. Just say you're interested in that webinar. It's coming up next week.
Right.
And for everyone's privacy and protection, what we do is we will collect your information, meaning we'll just ask for your email address. And then the day before, which I believe our webinar is on Tuesday.
So is our Zoominar.
The show is they're both on Tuesday.
11 p.m.
A.M., you mean?
A.M. Central Standard Time.
We'll send the link out on Monday so everyone will have access to it, and we'll also send it out again on Tuesday morning, but we'll only send it to individuals that have signed up, so you won't be able to just find the link on the website.
And if you haven't had an opportunity to interface with us before through
give you a chance to see, like a simulcast. Hear and see, same time.
It's like going to the car dealership and kicking the tires.
A little bit.
Exactly. So it's if you're enjoying the show, again, we'd like to continue that.
Yeah, and the great thing is we get to take. So if you have questions, you can request that a link to the webinar, and you can also type your question in. We'll prepare those in advance.
Yes.
But if a question comes up while you are on the webinar with us, you can send that to us by email, and we'll give our email out a few times during the webinar, and we'll answer those live on the webinar.
Which is very fun to do. And again, this will last for no more than 58 minutes.
That's right. We would like to be respectful of everyone's time. We chose 11 o'clock because we feel like that might be a lunch break time for individuals that are still working, and maybe for all those retirees, they've already been out and about and they're back home again.
Yeah, and we're just
ready for a quick break.
Yeah, we're just wondering who's going to come by and maybe give us lunch. Feed us, right?
Bring us lunch.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do workshops very often. Many advisors do. But if it was, it would be you feed me.
Well, what are we supposed to do? All the work? We got to entertain and feed people?
Well,
Goodness.
that's what other people
what are they
do
expecting?
That's what people do to drag other folks in, but we don't do that. And just so folks know, and especially...
Fly in the face of conventional wisdom.
I love blueberries.
Blueberries?
Yeah.
Well, you can't eat those virtually, so everyone's safe. You get to keep... We won't shake you down for any food.
You know, it's funny. Your mom and I, last night, we were going out to dinner. Mm-hmm. And I thought, let's go somewhere different. You know, let's have a little fun.
Okay.
And so I drove up to the Rock Road.
So this is like 6 blocks from their house, somewhere different. Okay.
No, come on. I live.
It's like a mile and a half.
I live nearby. So I drove I was at 270 in the Rock Road.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, maybe I'll go to Bob Evans.
Oh, Chuck-a-Burger's on the Rock Road.
So is Waffle House, so is Olive
None of these are sponsors of the show here, so right. This is all just
Bob
conjecture.
Evans is closed.
What?
Yeah.
For good?
It blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And then...
Oh, God, so this turned into one of those where you were like in the car for an hour and then you end up in Steak and Shake.
Exactly. And so, no. I had alternate plans.
Okay.
So... You know, so then it's because Bob Evans is the same place, right, as where Olive Garden is. And so I turned around, and there's like a line.
To Olive Garden?
Exactly. Like, I'm not waiting for Olive Garden. So I told your mom, I said, we're just going to drive down the Rock Road.
The very first thing you see.
We're just going to go. And I said, no. I said, we'll stop, and if for some reason it doesn't work.
What a fun little
what's nice is...
Friday experience.
Not Steak and Shake, but Lion's Choice, my favorite.
So you knew you were driving towards Lion's Choice no matter what.
Is it all in Lindbergh? Because we would just take Lindbergh south and go back home. Didn't make it there.
Everyone wants to...
literally, I did make it there because all these places were closed. Like Hometown Buffet. Sometimes I just like to go, I need really disgusting food. That was closed. Fazoli's, never.
You were going to get in so much trouble.
I passed the line. I passed the Maine Lobster.
Lobster.
I'm sorry.
Lobster. Red Lobster.
Red Lobster that we've never paid because the service is so bad. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Oh my gosh, you were just like rattling off all. You're going to get hate mail from these people.
Yeah, but you're talking about. So, anyways, what I'm getting to is my favorite stuff. We went to IHOP, so I could have pancakes with blueberry syrup. I love blueberries.
That was a really long story.
I love
Oreos.
I love Oreos, but I love
the blueberries.
People bring blueberries.
Well, see, this brings up an interesting. This sounds like contrary to many people's beliefs. You're not retired.
No.
Mom is your wife. My mom is retired. Now, this sounds like what a retiree might do. My
boss's slave is sitting right here.
What now?
Team Jeff says, no, you're not retiring, Jeff.
Well, you don't have to retire. I'm just saying, this sounds like a lot of our clients have found a lot of excellent deals out and about, just driving around.
Yeah. Really, the truth is that, I've always felt like this.
Your eyes open up after.
Yeah. I mean, when you're at work, you're getting ready to go to work, you're going to work, etc. You have blinders.
Right. It's like, get up, go to work, come home, make dinner, go to sleep, do it again.
And I kind of imagine that, you've got like all these deals like flying past your face and you never have an opportunity to take advantage of them because A, you don't have time. Or
you
B,
forget because, Monday night is pasta night.
Your attention span is somewhere else.
Right.
And you're right. Pasta House is another.
Like they have.
I look like I eat a lot of food too. Some people eat to live.
Check it out on the Zoominar Tuesday.
I love to eat, exactly. But in this case, it's right. So, Pasta House is new.
Right. You go in there.
I've only eaten there 64,000 times.
Never on unlimited pasta night, though, because you forget. But when you're retired, you can plan time around that.
Or the kids or grandkids eat free. Now, I didn't do that on purpose.
Well, I don't think people at the 8 o'clock hour know how much you want grandchildren, so
no.
You'll have to expose them to that.
That's nice.
Cute.
That's our new thing. That's nice.
Right, so you don't say any inappropriate words on the air.
You're welcome. Anyways, a little fun with us, but we are having this webinar
on Tuesday,
which is truly a Zoom webinar.
But I think it's going to be, a lot of people have heard quite a bit about the changes to the tax law, specifically about how to pass pre-tax assets, meaning IRA assets, on to individuals that are not your spouse. And it seems like at least the majority of planning ideas center around just one option, which would be a Roth conversion. And I think our webinar is going to provide people with a few other ideas that are not just a Roth conversion. That seems like the easiest solution, right? The pre-tax assets now are going to be taxed at a much more rapid rate, essentially, is what happened, as opposed to being able to pay taxes over the beneficiary's entire life. It's down to a 10-year period. Well, what's the easiest thing to do? Make those assets after-tax assets, meaning move those IRA assets into a Roth during your lifetime. Well, there may be a more efficient way for you to pass those assets
less patriotic.
Along. Right.
Paying tax unnecessarily is, we'll call that patriotism.
It's like charity.
Right.
To the government.
It's like withholding from your paycheck for taxes.
But you'll never get that money back, so it's even worse than that.
Making an interest-free loan to Uncle Sam. Patriotic. Right. Maybe not wise.
Right.
But patriotic.
So I think this will, at the very least, it'll give you a few other ideas that maybe you have yet to hear or think about in regards to your assets after you've passed.
Yes, and as I've said a few times during our regular 10 a.m. show, every Saturday here on the Big 550 KTRS, except for this week and next week.
Right.
Or if they preempt us because of Mizzou.
That's right. Go Mizzou.
This recent tax change, which was the CARES Act of 2000, may be the most significant tax change that we've seen in our lifetime until, of course...
Since the creation of the 401k?
Yep.
Or the Roth?
Yeah, the change in how you can pass these assets on to your children / grandchildren / whomever it is has changed so significantly that it really has changed the whole paradigm. And it would be, in my opinion, just really not good not to address this straight up and have a game plan for it.
Well, and this is interesting. It looks like we have a caller on the line.
Charlie, or Charles, as he was born.
Hey, regarding this webinar, will it be recorded so that people that can't listen or be active at 11 can listen to it at a later date?
Charlie, that is a wonderful question, and thank you so much for calling and asking that.
Yes. So our ultimate goal is that, yes, we will be able to have it available for individuals to watch again later. However, because we work in the financial services industry, we're regulated by the SEC and FINRA, and so it has to be reviewed by our compliance department at LPL Financial, our broker-dealer, to make sure that we're staying within all of the appropriate guidelines. And if it passes, then we will be able to put it up on our website. And most likely what we'll do is also send it out in an email format. So, Charlie, if you wouldn't mind sending us a quick email, and even if you know you're not going to be available for the time, just go ahead and request that link from us, because that way we'll have your information and we'll be able to, if we send it out in an email to everyone, you'll be on that email list.
Yeah,
and that's for everyone.
Yes, and just so you know, we have the best intentions to be able to reproduce this, i.e. tape it, but unfortunately, dear old Dad sometimes says something that the compliance department doesn't like.
Right. Well, we have different
Yes.
Our goal is always to be within compliance, but sometimes,
You miss
things.
it.
Right. We miss the mark a little bit, so we'll do our very best.
And just like everybody else, what happens is if you charge us, so you know, we have your email, we're going to send you a complimentary newsletter each month.
That's right.
But we won't call you.
No hassling.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a very great day, and while we're waking up for our day, right?
That's right. Early in the morning.
That's nice. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the incredibly quiet text line.
I also think the webinar is very timely because the
Yes.
conversation around taxes in general has been heightened over the last several months. I guess, and now over the last week or so, because they've been really ironing out whatever the new Biden administration's tax changes objectives are going to be. And I think the nice thing that that I've read at least is that many of the things that people were most concerned about and could have had the most significant impact on individuals, again, passing assets on after they've gone, is going to be dropped from at least their current goals, meaning, taxing after tax assets.
Well, yeah, honey. I mean,
at the transition.
the bottom line is that I think what's important here for most folks to realize is that regardless of the party who is in power at this moment, the other party will come into power. And
taxes go up, they go back down.
Exactly. But they are talking about a couple of significant things. One of them is, and I read this yesterday, which concerns me greatly, and would concern you if you actually knew what happened to you, but you didn't, is that what they basically said is that, they want to, our president has basically said everybody who makes over $450,000,
yes,
we're tagging you with more taxes. So we'll
leave
that,
a little surtax.
We'll leave that debate go, whether, they're rich or not rich, okay? But what they did was they talked about capital gains. They're raising the capital gains top rate to 25%.
Yes.
Which doesn't sound like it's a lot of money unless you sold the family farm where you're selling your business.
Or a rental property.
Exactly.
Or you are someone that's accumulated many properties. Maybe you're selling one.
Yes.
You don't get the exclusion for your non-primary residence.
And what they do generally is, like with the income tax side, any changes they agree to won't come into account and don't start until 2022.
The next year.
But the capital gains stuff was effective as of yesterday, if they pass the law. So they've already marked the line in the sand. So if you didn't sell that property, you didn't sell that, et cetera.
Now you're going to fall under the new.
Well, if they
pass it
the way that they want. So we don't like to speculate on these things.
It's not our job.
No, it isn't. We take it as they come. But what we will do is, and we do this for clients, is that when we think things that are really important that make sense that are going to affect you, we're going to tell you up front, and not with a lot of verbiage, but how are you going to deal with it in your own situation?
Right.
That's why, again, we really almost insist that we're having coaching sessions with folks twice a year. We need to know what's going on in your life because stuff does change. And if we can keep up to date with you, we can then provide you
with the best advice that we can possibly provide you.
Because that's what we want to do. I mean, obviously, we get paid to grow your money. That's what investment advisors do.
Right. That's how you pay us is through our investment advisory services, but we really feel like the bulk of our fee is earned through all of the planning, and that's really the majority of what this show talks about is the planning aspect of retirement. We don't talk about how to invest your assets. Because we cannot. But what we do talk about is the different ways that, different things that are going to impact you in your retirement and impact your cash flow.
Yeah, because I think truly at the end of the day, this tax change and the planning that we're client by client
in the last 30 years, it's been the most
big,
the largest impact, and also, that having the largest impact doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing. It just means we need to approach the question in a little different of a way because we have some new information now. The facts on the ground have changed, so that means that we need to change our planning strategy. We don't look at these things in a negative light. What our goal is to do is say, well, now that we have this information, how do we continue to do what we want to do? How do we continue to get you where you want to go? Yeah,
it was kind of fun, and we're getting down the last couple minutes of our show. Again, if you want to give us a call, we'd love to hear from you, 931-5877, star 5877 for your cell phones, or 84126. Text line. So, I'm out golfing yesterday.
Golfing.
Very poorly, by the way. Mm-hmm. Just got some mechanical issues. And we get done with the issue. No, I do, unfortunately. And so we get done and talk to one of my buddies after he's taking my money. And my advisor told me that September is a down month. And I'm like, he says, what do you think about that? I said, well, I don't know. Every month is a good month to be invested. Are you running for the hills? What are you doing? And he goes, nothing. I'm like, well, how did that information help you? Right. Or was it a way of saying, oh, we could go?
Was it hedging?
Right.
It was tempering your expectations on your return on your account performance.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it was. What's important is that your advisor, unless they put themselves out this way, are not prognosticators. We don't know what the future is going to be. But our job, and frankly, I think it's a fun one, is to make lemonade.
That's right.
Out of lemons. So as the landscape changes, we're there, and it's really a privilege to be invited on the journey. Easy way to do. Coaching session, give us a call, 314-863-0008. Or you can always send us an email, Jeff or Aaron at jblfinancial.com. See you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services are entities from LPL Financial.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the Retirement Coach. We'll be back next week at 10 a.m. here on the Big 550 KTRS.